Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Project Zomboid on Point in West Point. My name is Reki and this is Emily. We are in episode, oh gosh, I've forgotten, either 23 or 24 now, I guess. Let's have a look. Well, no right as rain in a moment. Oh, we're in episode 24 and it's day 7, July 15th. It's 5:20 in the evening. We have just gotten back from raiding the pharmacy in an attempt to get vitamins so she would be less tired, which is not working as well as I had hoped it would. And I have gone ahead and I have unloaded the car, put away all of the stuff that we got from the refrigerators and the drugs, and we're going to just head out. We're going to get an axe. We're going to do some whatchamacallit, we're going to do some wood cutting, if I can get the words out. Apparently I'm having that kind of a day. I'm sorry. Alright, so let's head out and let's do some wood cutting. And it's a pain because we don't really have a good truck to pick the wood up with, but we really can't wait any longer, especially given I just crashed into this little tree that grew back. And I want to clear the side and give us better line of sight, as well as we need the resources. We really need to get going on carpentry, and we need to get her skills up 2 more levels. And she's finally got a bonus to carpentry from reading books, so now is a good time to do this. And we're starting to really grow in again here, and I want to make sure that we get this as clear as possible. In order to build the rain collection system, which is one of the things that we really need to do, and preferably before the next big rain, we need to be able to make rain barrels. And rain barrels require either 4 or 6 planks, and they require a garbage bag for every rain barrel. You can make a small rain barrel at level 6, and sometimes that's not a bad way to raise your carpentry skill. But the problem is, when you make those small rain barrels, they really don't hold as much as the large rain barrels. And even if you disassemble them and attempt to reclaim your materials, you will never get your garbage bags back. And excuse me because I misspoke. They don't take 1 garbage bag. Every rain barrel takes 4 garbage bags. So every time you make a rain barrel that you then break apart, you wind up losing 4 trash bags. Which is also one of the reasons you see me running around grabbing trash bags out of every trash can I encounter. Because it's just easier to do that as you go. And, you know, at the end, if you have 70 trash bags, well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can always try to move your rain barrels at some point in time, and if you accidentally, break one, then you have more trash bags to make some. But the primary component of the rain barrels, of course, is wood. And the other thing that holds us up is the fact that it takes carpentry levels in order to do it. In order to make the small rain barrels, you have to be carpentry level 6, and in order to make the large ones, you have to be carpentry level 7. And additionally, in order to make the water reclamation system, you have to put the rain barrels out somewhere. Now, if you just put them out on the ground, they'll collect water just fine, but the water is tainted, and in order to use it, you need to be able to boil it. So what I typically do is have 1 or 2 out on the ground floor, or 1 or 2 out on the deck upstairs, and I will use those to wash, because you do not need to boil the water in order to wash with it. You can wash yourself and your clothes. It's considered gray water, and when you do that, your clothes are still clean, but nothing is harmed. However, if you drink the water will make you sick. And I do not know if that's sick with the zombie illness or if it's just sick with, disease and bacteria, because the zombies have been dying or wandering through the water. There is a type of waterborne illness that occurs when, dead bodies and rotting material are clogging up your waterways too much. To a certain extent, you're always going to have dead bodies in the water. Not human bodies, but you're going to have dead fish and so on and so forth, because predator aquatic life is going to go after other aquatic life, and there are going to be remains and stuff. But the oceans and the waterways tend to be a carefully balanced ecosystem that allows for a certain amount of that sort of refuse from the indigenous life forms. However, as we've seen in many instances across history where large numbers of people have died, or people have, been killed in floods or whatnot, the water can become undrinkable because of the presence of too much rotting material. So I don't know if that's the case in the game, or if the game simply says, well, the water can transmit the zombie virus. But either way, you do not want to drink the water, because it will make you very ill and possibly kill you. So putting rain barrels out and just leaving them go without finding some way to filtrate them simply means that you have another source of backup water, which is great. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having extra water. And if that's the only way you can reclaim it, that's fine. But you're going to have to boil it if you're going to want to use it for drinking water. So obviously, a better system is to hook your water barrels up to something that filtrates them, or filters them, pardon me, wrong word choice. And then once the water is filtered, you can just drink it. So the way the game works, sinks are automatically created with some sort of a filter in them. So if you hook a water system up to them and the water falls down into the sink will filter the water, and then what comes out of the tap is clean. So that means if you want to use the rain barrels to reclaim water, and as far as I know, the rain barrels are the only way to reclaim water, what you're going to need to do is install your rain barrels on a level above where your sink is, and outside where rain can fall into them, because if you install them inside, rain can't get into them. So once your barrels are installed, you can then go downstairs and you can plumb them to the sink, and the water that comes out of them will automatically be filtered. That, however, means that then you have to be able to build on an upper level, because you can't put the rain barrels down here. You need them to be up above where your sinks are, and if your sinks are on the bottom floor, then your rain barrels need to be on a second floor. That means you have to build a deck somehow. And there's only two ways you can build a deck. One is you cut a door out and you just start building floor, and it floats in midair and looks kind of weird, but at least you've got a deck built. Or the other is you build stairs, you make a room, you build stairs, and then you go up and you roof the room, which is the preferable method for doing it, but it isn't always the method that's available to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit here for a few minutes. As you see, I managed to get a substantial amount of wood cut. We're going to fast forward because she needs to rest. She's ridiculously tired, and I do not know if this will actually help her all that much. She's at the exhausted state, and I think once they get to ridiculously tired, this no longer decreases when you sit around. I probably should have stopped her sooner, but we did need to get as much wood chopped as possible. Preferably what I like to do is get wood chopped all the way around the building, so there's a reasonable line of sight out. So as you can see, we have this nice big clearing here, but there's a spot back there that's really dark, and then we did get all the stuff behind. So if we can get the area up here done, we're in good shape. And what I'd like to do ultimately is start loading these logs into the car. If we had a flatbed truck, this would be a lot easier. The flatbed truck holds 800 pounds of logs, and that amounts to, they're 9 pounds a piece, so that amounts to a little over 80 logs. Unfortunately, we do not have a flatbed, so we're going to be doing this in 100-pound runs. This is 169 pounds. I am not entirely certain how many logs that actually amounts to, but we will figure it out. And one of the things that I also like to do while we're going around is I like to loot the tree branches and logs and things that are on the ground, because those can then be put into the wood stove, and it's one less thing you have to do later on. So that in and of itself takes up more space. You're not just going to be grabbing all the logs, you're also going to be grabbing all of the twigs and all the branches. And like a dummy, as you can see, I forgot to dump the stuff I was carrying anyway, so that's going to also hinder this endeavor a bit, but we'll do the best we can. One of the things that you want to be aware of, and which you may not be aware of, is you can gain carpentry experience by sawing wood. So since that, especially in the early levels, is one of the easiest ways to get carpentry experience, it's better to collect all your logs in one place and saw them all in one place, which makes the addition of the flatbed truck just a no-brainer, because basically you pick up the things that you pick up the logs. You have 800 pounds of logs in the back of the flatbed, and you just simply saw all 80 logs or however many you manage to get in the truck. And it takes you a little while, but you might get, especially at early levels, 1 or 2 levels out of it. Later levels you won't get that many, but still, it's free experience. And since you absolutely have to saw the logs in order to turn them into planks, you're going to get it whether you want to or not. It's not something you can bypass, so you may as well plan for it. She is so tired. This endeavor is just ridiculously slow, but that's because I'm still getting her up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We are only on day 7, and typically I wouldn't even worry about the water reclamation system this early, but our water went out on day 2, which this is the second game I've seen that happen since one of the updates. So I'm interested to know, if I start a 3rd game, if we're going to see more, if we're going to see that happen again. Because if that happens 3 times in a row, that's a little bit too coincidental, in my opinion. And I just wonder if it's some sort of strange bug. And I do run with a lot of mods, so it could easily be because of that. I hope not, because I really like the mods that I'm running with. I run with the propane and gasoline mod, which allows you to make your own propane. I run with the big truck mod. Actually, I run with a couple of them. There's one that puts the Humvees into the game. There's one that puts the water trucks into the game, like the blue and white ones. And then this is a takeoff mod that puts the army water trucks into the game. They're basically reskins of the original water trucks from Tread's water truck mod. And then you also have gas trucks like this one. I also like to run with all of the Viperel's recycling mods. He's got mods that allow you to recycle jewelry, small electronics, metal objects. Then it adds in more recipes for things like tailoring, where you can turn, your spare sheets and things into clothing, spare leather goods into gloves and other things that, are sometimes difficult to get depending on how much, not how much space, but what your spawn rate is like. And it looks like we're full, so it looks like the truck is full, we're full. So I'm gonna pull back around here. Drop this wood here, and what we're going to do to drop this wood is we're going to saw it all. So let's just go like this, saw logs, and you'll see it says saw logs all 23 because it's not just including this 17, it's also including the logs that she's carrying. We're just going to get this all going, and she's going to hold a certain number of them. I think it's 12 or 13 depending on how much her weight reduction is. And then she's going to drop the rest. And so we're just going to Do the same thing with this bunch that she's holding. And we're going to do one more run. She's really exhausted. And there is a point where they get so exhausted that they start taking damage from being awake. And she has just been physically doing a great deal of stuff. Also, I'm not entirely convinced that when they're exhausted, it doesn't affect driving. It wouldn't surprise me if it does. The developers have really gone the extra mile in thinking about how the game systems all work together. And that's one of the things I love about this game. Some people have equated this to The Sims with zombies, and all I can say is that it's close and it's better. In some ways, it doesn't have quite as much detail as The Sims, and in other ways, it has far more detail. And I really like the way building works in this game far better than in The Sims, where you have to step outside of the game in order to build. You go into a specific build mode and you do your thing. Here, you build essentially in game time, in real time for the game. You're not going into a separate screen and building like a god and then having it done. Your character is actually doing the building. And it affects their skills, and it affects, you know, the things that they're doing. And I really appreciate that. I feel like that was a lot of work that they put in, and it was certainly worth it, in my opinion. It makes this game infinitely replayable because you're never entirely sure how much you're going to get done or whether or not you're going to be successful in a particular endeavor. Alright. We're at 146 pounds, so we may not make it out of here. Yep. We're not going to make it out of here. We'll get some more logs to fill our inventory up. And then that's that. Alright. So we'll take these down. I don't even know if we will actually saw them. We might just drop these logs and wait to saw them tomorrow because of how tired she is. She's got lots of red buffs that I want to take care of. She needs to eat. She needs to drink. She needs a bit of relaxation. She needs sleep. So all of these things are important, and we'll just drop these logs here on the ground and take care of them tomorrow. We will grab these branches and twigs. Oops, do we have logs in her inventory? We do. Okay. There's logs. Let's get those on the ground too. Alright, now we'll grab these twigs and branches. Okay, we'll head inside. And again, this would be much easier if we could find a trolley. I don't know why we haven't found one yet, but we will certainly keep looking for one. The big areas that I've found them have been warehouses, the supermarket, the tool store, hardware stores, that sort of thing. I found them occasionally in people's garages, but that's pretty rare, honestly. Alright, let's see. Can we get this stuff out of her backpack? Oh, perfect. Okay, so now we can just say add fuel, add all these tree branches. Let's get that going. And let's add fuel and add all of these twigs. And you'll see it's also suggesting like the books and things I'm holding, and I don't want to accidentally put those in the fire, so we're going to go over here. We're going to get rid of them. Oh, we still have this annotated map. Let's have a look at this. Alright, so this one says, blessing for a good soulmate, keep you from hell for another while. Oh, it's just the mark of the church. Okay, so we now know somewhere in March Ridge on the right-hand side of the town is a church. Not necessarily something that really helped us, but not harmful either. Okay, so we're going to go down. We're going to feed her. We're going to close up all of these curtains and windows. And I don't think she's going to make it to the midnight broadcast. She's just too tired. I may have to... I hate to lose a broadcast because, like I said, once the TV is out, it's out. But we don't really have a choice at this point. She's just too exhausted. And if I put her to bed early, I can leave her 5:50 a.m. alarm on, and she'll just get some more sleep. And tomorrow we'll also try to get some cooking done, and that'll give her better nutrition. She'll stop being hungry all the time. Because eating the junk food she's eating is not going to sustain her for long. Although it's good to get rid of it, you know. Alright. She needs some water. Alright, she is now fed. She is drank, but she's so exhausted she can barely move. Even though we sat her in the car for over an hour. So we're just going to sit her down here and we're going to let her sleep. And that'll be the end of this episode. And I will see you guys in the next episode for day 8. Take care.